What's going on, everybody? I'm Howard Bender from Fantasy Alarm, and welcome to the first ever edition of Table That Discussion, a new program here from fantasyalarm.com that brings the elements of the chat that you see on our homepage mixed in with roundtable discussion. Listen, we're all about the group mentality. We're all about discussing our DFS plays, our seasonal plays, and we're always chatting with each other, whether it's online or on the phone, when it comes to some of the issues that we see around sports. We've decided to bring that to you here today in this format. Now, while intelligent discussion is always what we want to bring to the table here, we're also going to bring a bit of a competitive element to it as well. The goal for each of my analysts that are going to be joining me here on this program each time is to show who's spitting the most fire. That's right. Who's making the points that need to be made? Who's not backing down from the argument? And who wins when push comes to shove? Now, to keep this competitive element going, I'm going to award alarm fires to each of my analysts here based on what they say and how they react to the discussion. They can get a 1 alarm fire, a 2 alarm fire, 3. If they get up to 5, and it's a cumulative effect here, if they get up to 5, well, then we're going to bust out that old NBA jam, he's on fire! And we're going to allow that analyst to lead the next discussion as it comes up. So, with all of that being said, let's just get right to it, and let's meet today's analysts. Introduce first the managing editor of fantasyalarm.com. His name, John Impemba. What's going on, John?
Howard, what's going on? Pretty excited to get the show on the road.
All right, John, let me ask you, you're a notorious Boston fan. We all know that a lot. Talk to me here. If you had to drop your allegiance to one Boston team, because you were only allowed 3 of the 4 major sports, baseball, football, hockey, and basketball, which Boston franchise do you drop first?
Well, I've been on the get Kyrie Irving out of Boston Celtics team roster for a while now, so I'd probably temporarily drop the Celtics for the time being until he's off the roster, and I'll stick with the Red Sox, the Bruins, and the Patriots.
Oh, dude, that's it. There's one you drop. There's no contingency. There's no when he's on. It's drop one.
All right, fine. I'll still drop the Celtics. As much as I love the NBA as a whole, so I can pick another team. But I'll drop the Celtics.
All right, Matt Sells over there in the corner on the opposite diagonal. Talk to me here, Matt. Listen, you live in Nebraska. It's cold. You're fighting tornadoes on a regular basis here. So I'm going to give you one chance right now. If you could have one superpower, what's it going to be?
Fly the hell out of Nebraska? No, I actually love Nebraska. It's a pretty cool place to be. But when a tornado earlier this week takes out your favorite ice cream joint, it's kind of tough.
There you go. I got you. Right next to you up top there, that's James Grande. James, I know you were hoping to get the superpower question so that you could say, I want to be beard man and actually be able to grow facial hair, but I'm not going to do that. Your Yankees right now, you're down 4 major cogs, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Luis Severino, and James Paxton. If you had to pick one that you couldn't be with from the rest of the season here, who are you dropping?
Did you included Stanton in that? I'm going to go probably Giancarlo Stanton.
Really? You're going to go without Giancarlo Stanton here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pitcher at heart, so I'm going with Paxton and I'm going with Severino because you need the 2 horses in the playoffs. And I think Clint Frazier's done a pretty good job, a good enough job to, if we lose Stanton, he'd be able to slide in. Plus, we're getting Aaron Hicks back as well. So I think they could live without Stanton. Judge is the next Jeterian, I'll say, like the closest thing to Derek Jeter the Yankees have right now. So I want him and the 2 pitchers.
Well, I can go with that. Edward Rouse down there in the bottom corner here. Edward, congratulations. You and your darling wife are new parents here. Now, let me ask you a question. If your darling wife were here on the show with us right now, would she say that you, when it comes to the diaper duty here, do you, A, always be willing to volunteer, B, kind of pretend that you don't smell anything there, I don't know what she's talking about, or C, suddenly running to the computer no matter what because you have something to do for Fantasy Alarm?
The answer would be volunteer. I would say the percentage of diaper changing has been about 60-40 in my favor so far. So
in your favor that you've done 60% of the time?
Correct. Yes.
Does anybody else here consider that being in favor of?
Well, as the only other one on the panel with kids, yeah. I mean, I'll take the hit on that one.
You take the hit on that one.
Of course, the wife works outside the home, so that leaves diaper duty to me.
All right, there you go. There you go. So here's the group, guys. It's James Grande, Matt Sells, John Impemba, and Edward Rouse. All right, well, I'm going to lead this off here with our man John Impemba. John, talk to me here. The Kentucky Derby, the 145th running of the Kentucky Derby, now is the most controversial Kentucky Derby because they DQ'd the alleged winner here, and that turns around to the biggest long shot making the way. Now, there are many people who are sitting here talking about how instant replay is yet again to blame. It took so long to determine it. And other half of the people are sitting there saying that they should never have been overturned. So I'll start with you here. A, should they have overturned it, or should maximum security have won? And then B, talk to me, instant replay, yay or nay?
Yes, I mean, rules are rules. You know, if he kind of cut in front of the other horse without giving the required length of space in between and cause an issue, then that's clearly a violation. And yeah, if the rule says disqualification, the rule is disqualification. I definitely have a problem with how long it took for them to figure it out. You know, we shouldn't have to be sitting there waiting for, what was it, like 10, 15 minutes or whatever it was, even longer to figure out exactly if they broke a rule or not. It should be something that you should be able to clearly see if there's been a rule broken or not and move on. I'm tired of these 10-minute instant replays where everybody else at home can see. Nobody knows what's going on. It seems like the judges are always kind of discombobulated with what's happening. We just had it again. I was actually at the Bruins game, talking about instant replay on Saturday. There was a potential no-goal situation during that game. We were left in the dark for seemingly forever while they analyzed whether or not a puck could or could not have gone into a net. They have a whole nother team in Toronto that's looking at 1,000 replays. They have the referees on the ice. Took forever, and then ultimately you couldn't tell if the puck went in the net anyways. They still called it a goal. So I mean, is replay ruining sports? I think what's ruining sports is the amount of time it takes for them to decide these things. It's either clear or it's not clear. It's either a catch, not a catch, a goal, not a goal. Well, I guess now interference now in football. So I don't mind the instant replay, but it has to be quick. It has to be obvious.
I'll give you a one alarm fire for your rules are rules, and that's just the way it goes, and that's why you DQ the horse there. James Grande, talk to me here. Your thoughts, instant replay. Is it the length of time that's just causing everybody to be distracted by it, or should they not even bother with it? What happened to the human element of the game?
I mean, I like the human element of the game, but I also like the introduction of instant replay. I mean, we had a perfect game ruined because there was no instant replay. And how many times have we had that happen? We haven't had it many times. So I think there should be instant replay. I agree with John that the length of the instant replays are, it can get long, but like as a society, we're so impatient. I'd rather it be that long so we get the call right. And I mean, yes, sometimes it goes 20 minutes and it still is like, we don't really know why that call was made. But I do think that the time and the diligence they take is the correct way to approach it if there's going to be instant replay in place. Like, you shouldn't put instant replay in place just to have it. You got to have the reason. And the reason is to make sure or, do your due diligence and get the call correctly. So I'm a fan of instant replay in all sports. And yes, it could get tedious, but we need to be patient. We need to be a little more patient going forward.
All right, I'll throw you a one alarm fire there for the perfect game that never happened because of that call at first base. Although, you know what, I'm taking it away right now because you didn't name him by name. Where was his name? How come you couldn't even give him his due there? I don't even want to hear it right now. Matt Sells, talk to me here. Instant replay. Grande says it's good. It's fine. You just have to find some other alternate way to keep everybody amused during the 15 to 20 minutes that it's going to take. John Impemba says it's taking too long. Speed up the process here. Where are you?
I would agree that it needs to be sped up because, let's face it, sitting there for 20 minutes when a horse race takes less than 2 minutes is a little bit too long. They did get the Kentucky Derby call correct. I ran track, so I don't understand why anybody in a race situation would pull off the rail and come to the outside to intentionally block somebody. That's the slower way to go. So that should have been obvious very, very quickly. You can watch about 4 replays and discover that. So the length of time, it does take too long, but I get it that these are high-stakes situations. The Kentucky Derby is perhaps the most prestigious horse race run out there. So you got to make it right. The NFC Championship game this year, that call should have been able to be replayed. They flat missed it. They ruined the chance for a Super Bowl matchup. So, these things, we got to get them right. They just got to get faster. And with the amount of technology that we have at our disposal now, there's no reason it should take as long as it does.
All right, very well said, very well pointed. But I'm not awarding you anything because you just told me that you ran track, and all I keep picturing now is you in like track shorts and a tank top trying to run in the mud that the Kentucky Derby was in right there. Edward Rouse,
country too.
Say something to take this image out of my head right now here.
Well, I'm not
Talk
going
to
to
me here. So instant replay. Give me a suggestion here on how we're going to fix this issue. Is it just a matter of distracting people? Is it just a matter of being sped up? I think personally here, the Kentucky Derby one took so long because they were looking for any possible way to not reverse the decision here because it's the Kentucky Derby and nobody wants to see somebody DQ'd. But what can we do to fix this issue?
Well, the main issue is before there was instant replay, everybody wanted instant replay. We need instant replay. This isn't right. And now we have it. And now it's like everyone's like, now we don't need it or it's not working. It's like, well, when is everyone going to decide? Because guess what? Instant replay is still human element. It's just a different human watching the replay and judging if it's indisputable evidence enough to overturn compared to what it was before live. So is it really something that is made any type of game better or just prolonged the same inevitable from before? Yes, it's made some great calls, but it's also made some calls where you're like, oh no, just like it did before. So I agree we need instant replay, especially with the technology we have now with the different camera angles and all the types of cameras we have coming out that can see things better. But if one thing can be overturned, everything should be overturned, as if you should be able to instant replay everything. If you have instant replay, everything should be able to be under instant replay to an extent. So I think it's getting there. It's not there yet. It's still just a little pebble of what it can be. But ultimately, it's still a human element because it's somebody judging if it's indisputable or not compared to what it was before. So,
show of hands here. Anybody who wants them to do instant replay for anything in sports? Let me see them.
Nobody.
Yeah, that's what I thought there. Everybody gets an alarm fire there except for Edward Rouse. Because that would drive everybody nuts, and you'd have games that are 20 hours long. It would be a nightmare, my friend, an outright nightmare. All right. Well, there you go. What I just wanted to kind of get everybody's views on that. You know what? We didn't weigh everybody in here. Show of hands. Who thought maximum security should have been given the victory? Anyone? Look at you guys. All in agreement here? Nobody? I love it. I love it. See, peace, love, and harmony here on Fantasy Alarms. Table that discussion. Let's talk about something else that might get everybody a little bit heated. At least I know it's going to get me heated here. It's a battle between millennials and I don't even know what generation you want to talk about. The old school versus the new school. Bat flips, yay or nay? This one here, you guys, all four of you know how hot this crap makes me. I'm not even going to start right now. I'm just going to turn it around. I'm going to give Edward Rouse the floor. Edward Rouse, bat flips, man, yay or nay? And are the unwritten rules of baseball just to be thrown away so that these kids can express themselves?
I say yay. I mean, it makes the game more exciting. I mean, the Lawless bat flip, the Bautista bat flip is some of the greatest that we've seen. I mean, it's, there's no reason why a pitcher can't throw a strikeout and put his fist up in the air, but hitter can't hit a home run and flip his bat. It's the same type of thing. You're celebrating an individual feat, just like a pitcher, just like an outfielder making a diving catch, and then putting his hands up in the air. It's the same type of thing. Makes the game more exciting. I like the bat flips. I mean, I didn't like the one last night where Pete Alonso almost took out the umpire when he threw the bat behind him. It was exciting. He got called out by Paddock the night before. Then last night he hit the home run to ultimately win the game and threw the bat. It was a little overdue. I mean, so a bat flip should be enough where it's just bat flip, run the bases. It shouldn't be like throwing it up in the stands and everything like that. I mean, and as baseball progresses and more younger players, especially now with social media and everything come out, you're going to get more of the unwritten rules being slowly pushed aside, especially the younger the game gets, the more it is. That's millennials, baby. That's millennials.
What, just showing off right there? All right, so Matt Sells, talk to me here. Some bat flips are okay, some bat flips aren't. If you want to be like Jose Bautista, you want to float, flip your bat that way, that's perfectly fine. But if you're Pete Alonso, or let's say Tim Anderson, and you're chucking the bat when safety's at stake here, I mean, bat flip is a bat flip is a bat flip. Where do we draw the line?
I have no problem with bat flips. I think they're awesome. The Tim Anderson one, the bat flip was fine. I think the chest pounding and the looking back at the dugout and, pumping people up on like April 12th in the second inning was a little unnecessary. The Jose Bautista one, it was a playoff atmosphere. So why shouldn't he flip a bat for hitting essentially a game-winning homer in a playoff game that the Blue Jays hadn't had since, 1993? So I have no problem with it. The pitch, like Ed said, the pitchers pump their fists when they get strikeouts. Guys in the NBA, pound their chest when they dunk it. People in the NFL celebrate touchdowns or even first downs now, or tackles or sacks. So it's a personal achievement. Why shouldn't you be able to celebrate it? And frankly, if pitchers have problems with it, don't groove them pitches. It's all up to the pitcher. If you throw a pitch that's belt high down the middle, of course it's going to get taken out. Don't have a problem with it.
All right. Well, you know what, James Grande, let me ask you this. He talks about the fact that staring into the dugout and the chest pounding, all of a sudden now there's a fine line between what's a righteous bat flip and what's taunting. In the NFL, yeah, we've got you're allowed to celebrate a touchdown all you want, but if you're caught taunting, it's an immediate penalty right there. What's the difference between flipping your bat and staring somebody down, or even just the way you flip your bat and how you stand there and admire your home run? When does it become taunting as opposed to just a celebration of something good?
I mean, I agree. I think, like Matt and Edward pointed out, there are a fine line between a flip and a throw, but there's nothing the batter can really do other than round the bases. I'm okay with the bat flips. I'm a millennial. I love it. There was a funny debate between him and Tim Anderson and Trevor Bauer just the other day on Twitter. I thought it was absolutely fantastic the way that Bauer approached it and the way that Tim Anderson approached it. If there's pitchers that are getting bat flipped on that don't care, why should we care as people that are watching the game? I'm sure not every pitcher wants to get bat flipped on, but Trevor Bauer's in the top 1% of them, and if he doesn't care, I don't think everyone else should.
Okay, John and Pemba, everybody seems to be in favor of the bat flips. I'm going to assume that you are as well here, but let me ask you a question. I mean, is there a point now where this could end up escalating between the two parties, between the bat flippers and the pitchers? Like, how far up does it go? At some point here, when does it go back and forth? When do we have enough is enough? What was it? Was it Chris Archer moonwalking off the mound? Like, at some point here, does it just go too far?
It only goes too far if they are legitimately headhunting, in my opinion. And we've had, this isn't a millennial thing. Like, I understand that it's been a current topic with Tim Anderson's bat flip, and was it the right time? But people have been bat flipping for every decade going back. You can go on YouTube and see highlights of Reggie Jackson bat flipping and Ricky Henderson pumping his jersey out as he's hitting home runs and all these things. So this isn't like a 2010 plus, new millennial issue of bat flipping. This has been going on in baseball for as long as pitchers have been, pumping fists and jumping off the mound every time they strike out guys. So I have no issues with celebrations if you're going to go ahead and do something that's great achievement, like hitting a home run. It's not as if hitting a home run is, this easy task. You're hitting a 90-something mile an hour fastball and you had to react to it in a split second. So I have no problem with that. And it's all in other sports. I mean, you talk about football, you had that whole Terrell Owens was going to the Dallas Star and putting the ball down and running. They went back and forth and celebrated. So celebrations have been in all sports.
And what happened? What happened when he went to the Star?
That was like the third time they went to the Star, going back and forth. He eventually paid the price for it, but I mean, that was still, it didn't really escalate much more than that. Like, he got hit for it. The bat flip, it just seems a little bit more showy for one reason or another that really gets on people's nerves.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. And Sells, I saw you point to the, your figure. I'll get to you in a second here. Talk to me. The bat flip in the third inning of a 4-0 game, and you just gave your team their first run. And the bat flip is the home run. No, I'm not going to say it's meaningless, but you're still down by 3. Okay, and if you want to equate it to football, how about the over aggressive first down marker that Ezekiel Elliott does after he rushes for 3 yards in the first quarter? I mean, come on. Are we really sitting here saying that every single achievement in sports deserves a full-on celebration here? Grande, you talk to me. What's more annoying? The bat flip and the that incites a fight or whatever between pitcher and incites the head hunting there because there's still that old school versus new school. Okay, what's more annoying, that third inning bat flip that causes that kind of ruckus, or the over aggressive first down marker that in the first quarter?
I mean, I think it's the over aggressive marker because I think maybe even he backflips or someone bat flips down 4-0. Maybe that ignites the bench, gets the bench going, gets them more involved. A 3-yard run on a first down, you're going to have 50 first downs in a game. In a single baseball game, you be lucky sometimes to score 1 run. So maybe that ignites the bench. Maybe that ignites your team. Your manager's more fired up. He's more in tune with the game, with moves he has to make. So I mean, I think it's the more, like you said, Ezekiel Elliott running for 3 yards or whoever it is, more than a bat flip down 4-0. I think there's more impact with a bat flip down 4-0, considering the scoring in baseball compared to football.
Matt Sells, you're bobbing your head up and down here. You got something to add?
Yeah, I mean, I just agree with James that some of it is you can tell is just ridiculous and a me type attitude with the Ezekiel Elliott. Every time I run for 1 yard first downs, I'm going to celebrate it. The Tim Anderson one, yeah, it keeps coming up because it incited, a brouhaha. But, he did wind up barking his team. So it worked. You going back to the when does it go too far? I mean, Jose Bautista got sucker punched at second base by Rougned Odor the next season in the first game that they played after that.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I would say that was pretty stupid. Texas should have let it go. But, I mean, it self-policed. They self-policed. They got suspended. It was over. And that was the end of it. Bill Gramatica, like 15 years ago when he was kicking for Tampa Bay, wound up tearing his ACL celebrating what turned out not to be a game-winning field goal. So I would say that goes a little too far.
Well, when I say going too far, is like, where does it go to the point where it's taunting the opponent there? So, but listen, I get it. I got 4 guys here that are saying, yeah, you know what? Bat flip away, celebrate, express yourself. And you got one host who's an old stodgy fart who's saying that, you know what? I'm freezing you all out right now. And I'm going to say this, that bat flips outside of game-winning hits or home runs are stupid. So stupid. And that's it. All right, I'm going to table that discussion right now. I'm going to unfreeze this whole crew here, and let's get to it. You know what? Just by a show of hands here, anybody here ever tweet at a ball player who's on their fantasy team? Ever?
I might have.
Oh, you might have. Who'd you tweet?
Nice things. I don't know, a couple years ago, like, hey, I follow you. Great job tonight.
All right. Anybody have anything to put on the wonderful social media world here? Talking about Trevor Bauer. Getting some death threats here, getting some very unsavory names called to him over this one. I'm going to give you each a couple of seconds here, a couple of moments to just kind of share your thoughts with the world and tell them how ridiculously stupid they all sound here. John and Pemba.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, and that's sort of the world we live in with social media, unfortunately. They have a lot of Twitter eggs that feel tough behind the keyboard and can say and feel like they can say and do whatever they want. It's unfortunate that it happens, but it's also, I'm not going to say it's the price to pay to be a sort of celebrity athlete or famous person in today's world, but you kind of open yourselves to all sorts of, audiences. And unfortunately, if you're going to be a public figure and allow public comments to be sort of directed at you, you're going to have these people who don't really care, have any etiquette, or, are worth anything tweeting at you. They're going to try to troll you. They're going to say negative, hurtful, harmful things because, for one reason or another, it makes them feel better. So I don't know. Obviously, it's a terrible situation to happen. It's good that he was able to shed light on it and maybe sort of turn it into a, he said, stop the bullying, like use that towards campaigning and whatnot. But Yeah, it's just crazy that people are still out there doing it today.
Edward Rouse, any thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, it's all direct messages. Like they don't even have the balls to just tell them in front of everybody. They got to do it directly. And second of all, I don't know what irritates me more, those people that go direct messaging Trevor Bauer or anyone and saying the things that they said, or the people that go back to when Trevor Bauer, not him, for example, but was 16 and find tweets that he said back then that could maybe ruin his draft stock. That also irritates me just as much. It's just trolling is just absolutely out of its mind. But then again, John's right. The people, if you're out there, if you're a professional baseball player or an actor or an actress or any type of celebrity, you're going to get it. And that's just part of the game. So if you don't want it, don't be on Twitter.
Matt Sells, how do you handle being trolled by the NASCAR community?
I usually just ignore it because most people don't know what they're talking about or what I'm looking at or what decisions were made to draw the conclusions that we wound up with. But that's just me. And I'm, just a NASCAR writer. I'm not a multi-million-dollar pitcher who's got some nasty stuff like Trevor Bauer. But, they call them fans for a reason. It's short for fanatic. And when you get fanatics, they're going to go a little loopy sometimes. Have I gotten really passionate about things with sports? Yes. But have I ever sent death threats to people? No. Because that's just not, there's just no reason for it.
James Grande, you sent me a death threat just the other day. You told me you hated me and that you wanted to kill me. So your thoughts here on that, on trolling? Right? I specifically put this in for a reason, guys, right? James, would you like to explain yourself?
I think I have to go. So I'm just honestly like
Edward's kid needs a diaper change, dude. You want to just go and take care of it right now?
It's almost feeding time.
I just think it's like not only like it's pathetic there are people in this world that are like that, but I'm very happy to see him bring it to the forefront, considering he has such a platform and professional athletes and all these famous people do have the platforms to, make some type of difference. And we just saw someone take their life. It's been in the social media for their gender or for their sexuality and like things like that. Like it just doesn't need to go that far. And it's just good to see people bringing it to the forefront of social media where so many of us, spend so much time. I mean, now we can see on our iPhones every day how much screen time we've spent. And I could tell you that screen time is primarily spent on social media. And to see Trevor Bauer, bring it to the light is good and it's positive. And I'm happy that he did that because there's always going to be these type of people. And that's mind-blowing to think, but we just need to get ahead of it like he did and be supportive and just get rid of these kind of people just permanently.
Banning them from social media, reports, whatever. I don't think they're ever going to be able to do it. The internet's just too big, guys. It's too big. It's too great a space. All right, let's flip it over to some fantasy baseball talk here. Now, everybody here in this crew does some work here at Fantasy Alarm with the baseball world. Let's talk about a couple of the hot topics that are going on right now. Number one here, listen, the Reds bring up Nick Senzel, and they go from scoring fewer than, fewer than 3.5 runs per game. Okay, from start until Senzel. Now, okay, dumpster fires, no hitter notwithstanding here. And I see you all just drooling over that one right there. Look, Sells can't even keep a straight face right now. He's like giggling because he just can't wait. He can't wait to talk about. But yeah, exactly. He's on his 22-team fantasy team. In any event, so Nick Senzel has now taken since he started in the lineup for the Reds. They're averaging more actually, just over 7 runs per game. Granted, it's a smaller sample size, obviously. But all of a sudden, this entire spark has happened here for the Cincinnati Reds. The question is Nick Senzel really, is he a game changer, John and Pemba?
I mean, he's one of the top prospects. We know the bat's going to be there, but short term, it seems like he's sort of sparked their offense a little bit, and they need it because Joey Votto is seemingly disappeared. He's clearly on the major decline here. Is he like a game changer, though? I don't know. I think it's too early to tell if he's a game changer. I think he's a kid who got brought up, benefited from the fact that he was playing in his own ballpark, that Little League field they have there, Great American Ballpark, and hit some home runs. I don't know if he's someone that he's going to carry, the Reds to, a comeback this season. They're sitting 5th in the Central, 15-21 on the year. It's going to be a rebuild season for them. He's a good guy to rebuild around. I don't know if this is the year for him to sort of break out, though.
Okay, I don't necessarily know if it's his breakout year. It's what he brings to the table to the rest of the team. Matt Sells, the impact of a rookie bat coming in. Listen, 2 home runs the other day in the same game that he also struck out 3 times. I mean, so it's a lot of up and down, or it's going to be a lot of up and down with him. It's what he brings to the table here as far as staying power. Will his defense be good enough to keep him in the lineup here? And is his presence, is that what's igniting Yasiel Puig, Jose Peraza? Or did they always have it in them? And it was just a matter that Senzel is just a non-factor. It's just a really good addition.
I think he's a really good addition. I don't know that he's a 4-run per game bat. I mean, he just hasn't been that. I mean, he's been a top prospect, yes. And he was like the number 2 overall pick the year he was drafted. He's not that kind of bat. I mean, if we're putting him in the same league as Vlad Jr., no, or what Bellinger did when he came up, who was also, by the way, a higher ranked prospect than what Nick Senzel is when he came up, I don't think that's the case. He's a solid bat for sure. He's got the tools to be, a 20 home run, 25 home run guy, but not a 4-run per game bat.
Right. Small sample size again. But Edward Rouse, let me ask you here. Is there another rookie that you'd rather have at this point right now, other than Nick Senzel with what he's done? Vladimir Guerrero Jr., would you rather have him? What's he done so far? He hasn't done squat.
I mean, if I'm honest with you, I'd rather have Pete Alonso over.
No, lie to me, please. Lie to me. That's my favorite.
I'd rather have Pete Alonso right now in fantasy baseball, especially in dynasty leagues. What he's done in the minor leagues and what he's doing now, I mean, it's absolutely insane. Power numbers are there. He's crushing the ball. He has the 3rd highest mile per hour off the bat behind Franmil Reyes and Aaron Judge this year so far. So, I mean, I like what Pete Alonso's doing for a fantasy aspect. I like Nick. I mean, he's a great prospect, but his K rate's been raising almost every year. He's at 25% this year, and I'd rather have Pete Alonso. Give me Vlad long term. Give me Fernando Tatis Jr. Give me him in the long run over Senzel as well. I just think they'll be better offensively over a long term than Senzel will, even though he plays in Great America Ballpark, which is pretty much a little league field. Yes. But yeah, I think of all the rookies I've seen this year, I think Pete Alonso is the one I would want the most.
I don't want to short the words of wisdom of James Grande here, who's going to obviously tell me that Nick Senzel is his favorite prospect, and there is no other rookie he'd rather have right now in a redraft league.
That is probably incorrect. I mean, I think he can be a spark, but the Reds' problem the last few years has never been their offense. I mean, they've been a really good offense as a unit. Eugenio Suarez, obviously Votto's on the decline, but I don't think he's this terrible. I think he adds depth to the lineup, and maybe other players will get better pitches to hit. So maybe from that type of impact. Edward, I'm surprised you didn't go Chris Paddock, considering how good he's been. I mean, the K rate has been outrageous. Not only this year in the majors, but his whole minor league stint. He was at 40% K rate in the minors. He's carried that pretty much over. He's at 30%. I mean, I like pitchers. I've always kind of leaned pitcher heavy drafts. I like to start my teams with pitchers. I mean, the Sierra and XFIP show a little regression, but I mean, if the strikeouts remain, I mean, he might and I guess there's an innings limit, and that could be the problem. But he may strike out 200 people in his rookie year, and I just don't think that could be overlooked. I think Alonso's great. Vlad Guerrero has an 80 hit tool. We obviously know he's the only player ever to get that from the scouts. I think he is the best of the group, and I think that's the player I would start with. But right now, I'm starting with all the rookies. I'm going Chris Paddock over Senzel, Vlad. And Alonso, just based on how well he's pitched. And plus, he has that park in San Diego every time he pitches at home. I mean, it's only a benefit to him as well.
All right, I think I'm pushing James up to a 2-alarm fire for calling out Edward Rouse on his Padres and not mentioning Chris Paddock. Forget about the fact that he couldn't even remember his shortstop's name, for crying out loud.
Sorry, I was thinking about Pete Alonso and that bat flip last night still.
Yeah, you really were thinking about Pete Alonso. Do you want to take a couple of minutes here off camera, kind of just get yourself right?
I have him on my
think so.
dynasty team. I'm excited.
John Impemba, a rookie you'd rather have besides Nick Senzel this year. This
Michael
year,
Chavis.
right now.
Michael
Redraft.
Chavis, right now.
Oh, come
He's
on.
come up. All right. You look at all the numbers there. All right. He's got 6 home runs, 13 RBIs in 17 games. You talk about impact rookies. Look what the Red Sox have been doing since he was called up in the 17 games. They're on their way back to 500 after being the bottom of the division the whole way. I think he's like second on the team in home runs overall in only 17 games since being called up. He's got a 20% barrel rate. He's got a 16% launch angle, 90-mile-per-hour exit velocity. He's carrying over all the power that he had over in the minor leagues when he hit 30-something home runs over the course of the minor leagues in 2017. Michael Chavis, top prospect in the Boston system before his PED suspension. Back from the PED suspension, though. And he's looking like the guy he was, so I'm all over Chavis. Got to have him, in my opinion, on your leagues.
All right, Matt Sells, you're the guy who handles the prospect work over at Fantasy Alarm. Michael Chavis or Nick Senzel or Chris Paddock? Who do you want?
I'm taking Vlad Jr. because y'all just gave it to me.
Really, this year? What's he doing, dude?
Okay, so it's been a rough start. How many rookies have had rough starts?
He's only 20, though.
A lot.
Right, but where's he going to get his RBI? If he even let's say he heats up a little bit here, where's he going to get his RBI from?
There's
How
plenty of
are the
good
run
hitters
scores
on
gonna
bad
come?
teams that get RBIs.
Eric Sogard.
I mean, look at JD Martinez. Look at JD Martinez in Detroit 3 years ago when that team was terrible offensively.
All right, wait a second.
Still had a
I
bunch of
got
guys.
Grande's getting another flame alarm there for the Sogard dig. Please continue, Matt Sells.
But like Grande said, he's the only player ever to get an 80 grade hit tool from scouts. I mean, that's not nothing. He's phenomenally gifted. So I'm going to take him. We're talking rest of the season. He's got another 4 months to figure it out. I've got plenty of confidence in him.
All right, so Matt Sells has Vlad Guerrero Jr., Edward Rouse has Pete Alonso, John Impemba, you're sitting pretty with Michael Chavis and Grande. Who's your pick of the litter here? Oh,
I'm
Paddock.
Paddock.
We're giving
I
you
thought we were doing
Paddock there.
hitters.
Right, we got one-man fantasy rookie teams here. We're going to come back to this discussion. We're going to table this discussion right now. We're going to come back to it much later on at the end of the season when we decide which one of these guys wins their own little Rookie of the Year contest. All right, as we are here in the month of May in the fantasy baseball season, we've started to see the hot starts cool off. The cold starts are starting to heat up here. Well, let's go down the line here. We'll start with you, Grande. You get the first call here. Biggest bust of the fantasy baseball season so far.
I mean, personally, Starling Marte has crushed my team. I spent a few too many dollars on him in auction drafts, as you would know, Howard, pretty. And
I'm taking an alarm away right now here for the needless swipe against the host here.
But Starling Marte, not only the injury riddled start, but when he's been there, he's been horrible. And the rest of his offense has actually been pretty good around him. And it just sucks. He was highest bid player offensively, and he's just completely let me down. So I'm going to go Starling Marte here.
All right, Matt Sells, biggest waste of money for you in your fantasy auctions and or your fantasy picks. Who's killing you?
Who's killing me personally would be Aaron Judge. Kind of hard not to.
Are you labeling Aaron Judge the biggest bust of fantasy baseball as of right now?
I mean, you had to take him in the first round, or you had to spend a huge portion of your auction budget on him, and you got what, 2 weeks? I mean, he'll be back, yeah, but that's a pretty big hit right now.
Sounds really mean when he says it like that, doesn't it, James? Like really mean.
It hurt. It hurt a little bit.
I'm not gonna lie.
By the way, I'm also
It
a
did
Yankees
hurt.
fan, so it's not digging at you two.
But
It did sound sad. It sounded
hurt
sad
me
on
less.
Matt. Yeah.
Well, it was sad when I spent that much money and I didn't get that much from him.
Edward Rouse, talk to me here. Biggest fantasy baseball bust right now.
For me personally, too, as a first baseman, I have in almost every league and just been killing me is Jesus Aguilar. from Milwaukee. I was really high on him. I thought he was going to be a great pick, especially in the middle rounds for first base, and he's been just terrible. Just no ifs, and or buts about it. He's batting 181, only 3 home runs. I think 3 of them came in the span of 3 days just a week ago. So he was batting up cleanup last year. Now he's batting 7th and 8th and just killing my teams. I'm scrambling for first baseman. Luckily, I got Christian Walker in a few leagues to replace him a little bit. But yeah, Jesus Aguilar by far for me.
All right, Jesus Aguilar killing it. John and Pemba, how about you?
Yeah, I spent $32 on Corey Kluber. And that has been an absolute disaster. Not only did he break his forearm, probably to save my roster, so I could just put him on IL and not have to worry about him. But he had a 1.65 WHIP, 5.80 ERA. He was 2-3. I know the Indians got off to a bad start. He got off to a horrible start. He was my second highest paid for pitcher in my auction league for me, behind Garrett Cole, and it just, it kind of sucks.
Anybody have any disagreements with any of the calls here so far?
I would like to say Jesus Aguilar last year had 1 home run going into May. On May 1st, he had 1 home run, and he ended up hitting 36 or whatever he hit. So just a little tidbit. Jesus, maybe not the fastest starter. We dealt with Mark Teixeira every year as a slow starter too. So
very nice. All right, there you go. That's our fantasy bust there table in that discussion right now. Switch it over here because we're going to move nice and quickly. NBA playoffs. I see 3 diehard NBA guys here, and then there's me and Matt Sells. We can, I guess, appreciate a basketball game like the rest of us, but what are we going to do? Listen, the playoffs are the playoffs here. We're all, I guess, assuming the Warriors are going to win the West, and everybody kind of saying Toronto. No, Sells says the Warriors are not. Edward Rouse shaking his head. I see no movement from Impemba or Grande. Sells, who's winning the West?
I like Houston.
He likes Houston. What is it about Houston? Is it James Harden's disgusting sweaty beard?
They've played pretty heads up with the Warriors so far, and Chris Paul hasn't. I mean, he's been okay, but he hasn't had like a breakout game. And if the refs don't screw up the first game, who knows what this series is at right now. So I'm going Houston.
All right, Edward, who are you taking?
I like Denver or Houston. I just don't think the Warriors have enough depth. If they struggle in the 3 and it's all Durant, they have no one that could even do anything on that team. It's already showing they're fatiguing a little bit. Who's going to cover Jokic if they play Denver in the next round? Nobody. Can they even get past Houston and their deep bench? I don't think so. I don't think it's as given as everyone thinks it is with the injuries that they've had and the lack of depth. I think they're going to struggle a little bit.
All right, John and Pemba, you were getting a little whiplash there, shaking your head back and forth. It's the Warriors game, and we're all just playing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way it is. Talent eventually wins out. They do have the best, I guess, 4 players in the series. If you want to put James Harden behind Durant or with Durant 1-2, then you give the Warriors the rest of the players after that. And we know James Harden can go on one of his 2 for 15, 2 for 10, 15 shooting streaks, whatever you want to call it, where he goes ice cold from the floor. Cost them last year against them. To me, I think Golden State's still going to come back and win this series, and they're going to be the team to beat in the NBA playoffs. It is every year, and until next year when that dismantling of that team happens, where Klay Thompson goes somewhere and maybe Durant goes to New York and Draymond might leave or whatever, then we'll talk about it then. But for now, it's Golden State, in my opinion.
Grande, talk to me here. Is it Golden State?
So I think out of the West, it's Golden State, but we do have to remember we were a Chris Paul injury away last year. It was 3-2 Houston. Chris Paul got hurt. The rest is history. So Chris Paul is healthy for now, knock on wood. Anything is possible. They haven't looked like the same team since DeMarcus Cousins' injury. I do agree to an extent about the depth of the Warriors, but they haven't really had depth in past years either. They've just relied so heavily on their big 3, 4, 5, whatever you want to call them. So I think they come out of the West. I do think this is their toughest test. If there was one team to beat them, it's Houston. Whatever the reason is, Houston just plays Golden State really well. But I do think Golden State squeaks it out in 7 in the West. But that's as far as I'll go.
That's as far as they'll go. All right. Well, there you go. So 2 no Warriors, 2 yes Warriors. We're going to have to wait and see. I'd like the Warriors to lose just for the sake of it. But for the same token there, I mean, just get it over with. Why can't we just get some series sweeps and be done with it? Let's all move on to the NFL, right? Isn't that what we all want to get to right now? We want to get to the NFL. We got the NFL draft guide at Fantasy Alarm. That's going to be coming out soon enough. Let's talk a little NFL here before we get out of here. NFL draft, NFL offensive rookie of the years. We've seen the odds. They've been planted out there. Kyler Murray, the number one pick. Everybody loves N'Keal Harry going to John's Patriot. John, stop it. Don't make me freeze you. Don't smile. N'Keal Harry to the Patriots. Paris Campbell with the Colts. People are loving on David Montgomery going to the it was the Bears. And then Miles Saunders over with the Eagles there. NFL offensive rookie of the year. Early look at the odds. James Grande, who you going to?
It's Kyler Murray's award to lose.
Kyler Murray's to lose.
It's to lose. I mean, he has a year I don't think he had or Josh Rosen didn't have a full chance with a healthy David Johnson, or at least a 100% David Johnson. I think they're going to do some special things offensively. I don't think they're going to win a lot of games, but I think they could be a pretty good duo, pretty awesome tandem this year. It's a quarterback-driven league, Howard. Everyone roots for the quarterback. Every award's the quarterback. I don't see him losing it. I'll say it right now. I just don't.
John and Pebba, talk to me here. What if Kyler Murray sucks? What if the offensive line doesn't give him the protection? What if he doesn't do anything? Is your boy N'Keal Harry going to be that final ticket to Tom Brady's last Super Bowl?
Well, he's going to have at least 3 more, so let's not con him out. Now he's playing for another couple of years. But yeah, I mean, there's no more Gronkowski, at least currently. There's no Chris Hogan, not that he did much anywhere. They signed Demaryius Thomas. He's coming off the injury. Who knows how effective he's going to be. They used a first-round pick on him, and that, to me, speaks volume. They used a first-round pick last year on Sonny Michel, and everybody was sort of scratching their heads. How's he going to fit in with Rex Burkhead and James White? And what did they do? They featured Sonny Michel when he was healthy. He almost had 1,000 yards rushing. To me, I think they drafted N'Keal Harry to be a feature part of this offense. He's going to complement Julian Edelman. He's going to be a guy that I think Tom Brady is going to have to go to and rely on. And for that reason, I think N'Keal Harry is going to be one of the best rookies in the NFL this year.
Edward Rouse, let's see. What if N'Keal Harry doesn't buy into the TB12 diet? What if he doesn't go to that clinic to get pumped full of all the TB12 vitamins here, and he doesn't work out? Edward Rouse, who's going to be the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year this year?
Well, you say it's a quarterback league and quarterback wins all the awards, but not the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Since 1967, when it was made, only 9 quarterbacks have won the award, and only 1 in the last 6 years. 30 of those going to running backs.
Edward Rouse with a 5-alarm fire right there. He's
and Arizona has no
and now he's going to make his pick.
And Arizona has no offensive line. I'm not a fan of Cliff Kingsbury. He wasn't a winner in college. He's a career loser, actually. I'm not on board with that. I'm not on board with Kyler Murray. I think it comes down to Miles Sanders or Montgomery. A running back, history shows running backs win the award more times than none. Whoever gets the more playing time. Are they going to make Montgomery that feature role in Chicago? And are they finally going to give Miles Sanders a feature role in Philadelphia and let a running back just be a running back and not have this 8-man rotation that they usually have? I think they give it to Miles Sanders. I think Miles Sanders finds a way to get the Offensive Rookie of the Year playing a feature role. So dynasty people, there's your pick. There's my pick for number 1 overall over Jacobs. I think you take Sanders.
Wow, look at that. Bold, brazen, tasty, delicious. A prediction so bold, I want to baste ribs in it. Matt Sells, talk to me here. Who do you got NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year? I mean, you just got a mic drop here from Edward Rouse. So do you differ?
I'm also going running back. I'm going a different running back. I'm going Josh Jacobs. Oakland has made it very clear that they're going to run the ball quite a lot this year. They have to keep Carr upright and able to be successful. When Gruden was in Tampa Bay, they had a pretty successful running game under that same system. So I think Josh Jacobs is the one that takes it. And I didn't realize the 60, all the way back to 1967, but I was going to say Barkley won the award last year, and he's definitely not a quarterback, though Giants fans wish he was.
Giants fans do wish he was. He could play quarterback and running back there. Beautiful stuff all around, gentlemen. Want to thank you guys for your participation. Now, while Edward, who just at the last minute here went to a full 5-alarm fire there by busting out stats dating back to the 60s, He unfortunately is not our winner today. That's actually going to go to James Grande, who actually had the most alarm fires without actually getting a 5. You're gonna have to try and build that momentum and not say something bad that's going to take it all away. When in doubt, if you don't have anything nice to say it to John, and I'll give you an award for a fire there. No doubt about it. Final thoughts here, gentlemen, as we cut out John and Pemba. How are you doing there?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. No, I thought I put up some good arguments, but maybe I'll just get it next time.
There you go. See, that's the spirit right there. I'll get them next time. Matt Sells.
Yeah, I thought I had pretty good arguments, but I guess Grande's just Woody Page enough to win it this time. So,
Edward Rouse, final thoughts here.
Well, I was gonna pull out my bat flip so I could flip it, but now I can't. So next time.
Well, then James Grande is the winner of today's show here. You get the final word. Well, at least from you guys.
If we're talking about Woody Page, I think you're a little closer in age, aren't you, Matt, there?
Nope. Maybe geography.
Well, I'm coming for your head again next week in Pemba.
Wow.
I'll be here.
I got to tell you, for that closeout there, I might want to take away one of these alarm
Whoa!
fires. I poured it all to myself here as the host, Howard Bender. That's right. Was there anybody more on fire than me? Come on. That's going to do it for today's episode of Table That Discussion. Join us next week when we conquer so many more of the things going around sports, both fantasy and reality. I'm Howard Bender for Fantasy Alarm TV. We'll catch you next time.